Hello, all you weebs, and welcome to Grappling with the Week, the show that brings you the hottest wrestling news and highlights from the steamy kitchens of NXT to the gritty, fast paced action of AEW. We talk about it all and give you a big discussion piece to truly satisfy that hunger of wrestling content. We're brought to you by Anima Weed Studios and hosted by your weebs of the ring. Let's stomp a mud hole in this week and get right into the action. Hopefully everybody's having a good Thursday out there. It's been an all right week, and today a lot of news came out today just in the past few hours regarding a certain big show that happens every year under WWE's umbrella, but we'll get to that news here in just a little bit. First and foremost, if you're one of our returning viewers, welcome. Hopefully, again, you guys have had a good Thursday. It's been a hot minute since we've had a stream just because of, our schedules and all that, but that is besides the point. If you're new here, of course, welcome as always. Hopefully you find a nice, good seat to sit in that's nice and comfortable. Get your snacks ready, get your drinks ready and all that, and just get ready to just relax. The weekend's almost here. It's Friday Eve for a lot of us. And yeah, we're just going to relax and talk about some wrestling news that came out. I, of course, am your world champion Watkins here to help guide us through all these crazy events of the wrestling world. And tonight I am joined by none other than the genius of the mat himself. Drop this box. Drop, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, and like you said, there definitely has been some interesting things to come out today, at least when it comes to one specific thing that's been on a lot of people's minds for the past, I should say, 5 to 6 hours now, because it just completely came out of the blue, and now everybody's like it's just a big uproar online just because of what we could potentially see happening with what we'll discuss later. So that should be fun to get into.
Yep. And, we're not going to spend too much time away from that topic, but we are going to bring up one thing really quick. This is going to be actually might not be the hottest of topics tonight that we talk about, but this will be our hot topic where we're going to give you a bigger discussion piece for the episode where we dive deeper into a news piece or PLE pay-per-view from a show outside of the main roster of WWE, or sometimes our predictions for a certain WWE show that is coming up. And those are actually going to be our Saturday night main event predictions. So we're going to talk a little bit about the card really quick, give our thoughts if more of them have come up in just the past couple weeks, because there hasn't been too much build for this show other than a couple stories here and there, or a couple things just kind of branching off from WrestleMania and Backlash and all that. But yeah, so we're just going to take some time, go through the card really quick, give our thoughts and opinions, and see how everything goes with that. So we're going to first talk about John Cena taking on R-Truth. Now, this is a non-title match, so really anything can happen here. But to be honest, I don't see John Cena losing unless it's some sort of funky way that he loses. The story really here is just the fact that R-Truth showed up to the Backlash presser after the show and all that. John Cena told him, "Hey, say one more word and just I'm done with you. You're gonna reap the consequences." R-Truth reaped the consequences and got an AA through the table, and now he's going to try to knock some sense into John Cena, much like Naruto tried to do with Sasuke back in the day, if you've watched Naruto. But again, I don't see Cena losing this match at all. I think he's still going to keep this winning momentum going forward, but he's going to really anger some people. I think this is going to be that moment that we keep talking about, where Cena's really gonna dig into that heel factor that he's gonna actually need for the rest of the year, and really get people to hate him and all that. I'll defer over to you, Drop. Who do you think is gonna win and why?
So I think John Cena's winning because I think this is probably to get more heat on him, because every time he comes out there, people are cheering him. not saying that's a bad thing because obviously it's his last year, but knowing the kind of character that he's playing right now, you would expect him to just get booed every time he comes out, which it happens. But then you saw that, ovation that he got towards the end of his Backlash match, which, a lot of the people there were thankful because of, this was the last time they're going to see him, the whole match itself, et cetera, so on. But it's like you said, the whole story here is whatever happened with R-Truth at the presser for Backlash, and he had him coming out on that Friday Night SmackDown just talking about how he wants to really beat it out of Cena to really bring back that Cena that we know. But I don't see John Cena winning here. And I'm not entirely sure where this match is going to take place because I think they said on Monday Night Raw that Jay's match is main eventing. Because I remember hearing Michael Cole saying that. So I'm not entirely sure if this is going to be an opener. It could very well be an opener or something. And if that is the case, and since there are rumors surrounding this specific match that's going to be happening at Backlash, I'll just tie it in here because I don't really want to spend some time talking about it later. But there was a current rumor about John Cena teaming up with Travis Scott and Logan Paul. I'm not sure if you saw that earlier about a potential match happening at SummerSlam. And there was another person that we've been hearing about that's going to be coming back. And I believe Backlash is like 2 weeks from now, if I'm not mistaken. So,
you mean Money in the Bank?
Yeah, money. That's what I meant.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute, Backlash.
So it's like, if that's the case, and if you need to build towards that, I could potentially see Cody returning here because Cena will win the match, but I feel like he's not going to stop there when it comes to Truth, and that's where I feel Cody will come back to put an end to that and help Truth. Yeah. And it just makes the most sense if he's going to be at Money in the Bank because he's on the promotional poster. This match has been rumored. It's obviously been talked about for the past couple times. We've even talked about it on the show. So if you were to build to it, I would assume he'd come back here. He doesn't have to. He could very well come back the next week, but I feel like you could slot him in here. I don't see why it would hurt, but
yeah,
I don't know.
No, and plus, apparently he was seen at the Universal Studios park that just opened up, and that's apparently only a 2-hour drive from where they're going to be at.
Oh yeah, I did see that today.
So he's
picture.
Yeah, so he's roughly in the area.
Yeah,
so he can show up very easily. Yeah, and apparently his partners for that were rumored to be the Usos.
Yeah, which I don't mind because they work great together.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I mean, that would mean, Jay doesn't really have anything like a title defense after that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's something that could easily kind of play into the story, like going into like the Monday following, because that's when Gunther's going to be facing him.
Yeah.
Which, spoiler alert for that prediction here coming up. But it would make sense to have like Logan part of that, I guess. But like, I guess part of it too would be, how do we get to that?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, Saturday night, they could do something to maybe get to that. Like, I mean, I don't think Travis Scott is going to be there, but
No.
I don't know. They'll have to figure some way to do that. I think John does have a Raw appearance coming up soon.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, so he could show up there and they could do something or whatever, but yeah. So yeah, it sounds like me and Drop both have John Cena going through all this. And Vash isn't here tonight. Unfortunately, he had to deal with The Rock calling him and all that. But he did actually send me his predictions for the matches for Saturday night's main event. So in a strange turn of events for Vash, he's going Little Jimmy on this one. Now, we haven't seen Little Jimmy in God, I don't remember how many years we've seen Little Jimmy, but I mean, you know what? Ballsy choice there, Vash. You know what? Ballsy choice going Little Jimmy on this one.
Definitely is quite the choice. I'll say that.
Oh yeah. But you know what? We mentioned Logan Paul. Oh my God, I almost called him Jake Paul. Oh my gosh. We had mentioned Logan Paul and Jey Uso. They have a match at Saturday night's main event for the World Heavyweight title. I mean, I also don't see Jay losing the title here. I see him beating Logan Paul. Just continuing that story a little bit, and plus, I don't see Logan Paul getting a world title, at least now. Eventually down the line, maybe, but now no, that it ain't happening now.
Yeah, I'm going with Jey Uso. I feel like it makes the most sense, especially with how
Mhm.
the cards are aligning right now. Like, granted, I already knew coming into this he was going to win, but you also have a lot of things set up with him afterwards, especially with the current storyline with Seth Braun and Paul Heyman. Now you got Gunther. So it's like he has a lot more left on his plate, and he could still deal with Logan Paul after if that match that I talked about in the previous prediction happens, and then they
Mhm.
move on from that, and then he focuses on Gunther and whatever happens beyond that point, leading into
Yeah.
SummerSlam. But it's like, he just won the title. I don't see him dropping it here, especially
Mhm.
to like Logan Paul. Doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, no, not here. Plus that rematch with him and Gunther is too tantalizing. As much as I would love to see Gunther just batter Logan Paul around and just make his chest cave in and all that,
Mm.
it's gonna be Jay here.
Oh yeah,
And I mean Vash again with an interesting pick here. He's picking Jake Paul for some reason. I don't know why, because Jake's not really signed with WWE, nor is he in the match. But I mean, hey, he sent me these predictions hit on his own.
yeah. Don't
So
don't blame us. It's coming from him.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So if you want to if you want to add him and tell him how bad his picks are, you know where to get to him. But next on our docket, we have a steel cage match between Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. And so this has been something that's been boiling up since, I mean, before WrestleMania. They had their street fight there that Drew won, and it kind of continued through to Backlash when they were in that fatal four way for the US title, enough so where they kind of both took each other out. Even though it's Damon Priest doing South of Heaven through a table and all that. But yeah, it's come to this. We're having a steel cage match between the two. This could be match of the night, if I'm being honest. Like just looking at the card, either this or the tag match that we're about to get to.
Yeah,
Um, but I mean, I have. Hmm. See, this one I'm kind of torn on because it's like, okay,
yeah,
we could go Drew because just kind of continue that story and all that, but mm, part of me wants to go Damian Priest because I
yeah.
think I think they can make a little bit more magic together because these guys have good chemistry with each other, just on the mic and in the ring. Like they could put on a really like physical match. Um, and I mean, where do we go from here after this? I mean, there's always Last Man Standing. There's always, dare I say, an Iron Man match would be kind of fun with these two. Um, I mean, granted, that's not like as physical as what we've seen with like the street fight and steel cage, but it's still something. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I'm gonna go Damian Priest. I think there's still like something more they could do here, and like keeping these two as rivals is something that could be really fun. Like even if they're not feuding, having them in multi-man matches, like let's say they both end up qualifying for Money in the Bank, like they could meet up with each other there and all that. That like that's a good way to kind of prolong the story. Like not only just like with one of them winning and oh we need to have a rubber match, but it's like okay we win the match and kind of like what they did with Backlash. It's like okay well now we're both having this title opportunity or with Money in the Bank, this possibility to get a title opportunity, we're both meeting each other again, like, kind of like that old rivalry kinda just coming back to each other again, but, yeah, I think I'm gonna go Damian Priest on this one, but who do you have?
Yeah, that's who I was thinking originally. Like when I saw the
Mhm,
document and I was writing down my predictions. Because when I looked at it like that, I was like, you know what? It can't just be like a clean slate with like Drew McIntyre winning a lot of the matches. So that was
mhm,
like what I was thinking initially when I was writing things down. But I'm gonna go with Drew only because I'm trying to see if they have like anything bigger for him after this. Because
yeah,
I want to say the US title scene, but that seems like it's going to be revolved around three people with Jacob Fatu,
mhm,
Solo Sokoa, and JC. So it's like, I feel like that's going to be the big story heading into the summer for that title. So unless he gets some sort of shot at like a big championship, or he factors in Money in the Bank, or something like that. I mean, I don't really know, but I do know like they advertised this for like the last match between the both of them. So I don't know. Like I do know that he's a big thing for them when it comes to these kind of programs. They like advertising him in there when it comes to whatever plans they have for him. And I remember hearing reports earlier in the year about him having some sort of plans for the summer. I'm not entirely sure if that's in the cards because things change all the time. But I'm just gonna go with Drew because there's just something that I'm envisioning coming out of Drew when it comes to like how vicious he wants to get this time, especially if he really wants to put the nail in the coffin here and really move on to something else. And I don't know, and this is just coming from me, but I don't know if I can necessarily see him losing a second cage styled match. But if it were to happen, honestly, I wouldn't really be upset whoever wins this match. But I'll just go with him because I definitely feel like he needs a big push. Like definitely needs something to really sink his teeth into, depending on what they do.
Yeah, and I mean that was my mindset with it too. It's like, okay, well, what does Drew do after? And I mean, kind of the same with Damian Priest as well. And
that is true.
There were some reports coming out this week too. Like he's been getting some praise backstage. Apparently, he's been like banged up a little bit, which is probably why he hasn't been doing too many matches recently. That Damian Priest, that is. So, knowing that he's still getting the good graces backstage is good to hear. But yeah, I mean, this one's just a coin toss, really. Like, it could go either way, and yeah, like Drop said, I would be fine with it. It sounds like he'll be fine with it. But Vash, on the other hand, again, another interesting choice. He went with Glomgold. Now, if you know who Glomgold is, he's a duck who is one of Scrooge McDuck's mortal enemies and all that. So very interesting. He went with Glomgold. I guess some sort of plot to get Scrooge's money or to get one over Scrooge McDuck. I don't know. It's weird. It's odd. Hey, and our last match that we're going to talk about is Sami Zayn and CM Punk taking on Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. This team up came up after WrestleMania with Seth and Braun teaming up together with Paul Heyman, obviously, and Sami Zayn and CM Punk just teaming up because, hey, we don't like them, and even though we're kind of rocky as well, we want to just we're how do I say this? I don't know. I lost my train of thought right there. Yeah, who do you have winning this match?
I said Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker because I feel like they need to continue this momentum with this group because it really seems like it's going to be very important moving forward, especially once we head into the summer, because I feel like at SummerSlam, Seth Rollins is probably going to obtain that title, and I feel like beyond that point, we're going to see what else he does, because there's still a lot of things that we're questioning, like what's next for them, but we do know that's one of the goals that they have in mind, which I'm all for it because it seems like they really want that title to feel important, which has felt absent for so long. But if I were to trust somebody with it to really make it feel important like it did initially when it was first created, it would be him. But I'm just going to go Seth and Braun here. I just feel like even though you're going to have Sami Zayn and CM Punk team up with one another, I just feel like it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like, they're kind of doing that story where it's like, oh, can they coexist? Even though, I mean, it's freaking Sami Zayn, and he's in full-on babyface mode, and he's somebody that can really trust people and all that. And CM Punk, I get not trusting people because he's been backstabbed so many times, and just very recently by somebody he considered a best friend and all that, at least in the business. Yeah, it kind of needs to be set to kind of just solidify their dominance and their team up and all that. And yeah, I mean, I agree. Seth is probably going to get that title, and I'm not going to lie, Braun should be the one to take it off of him.
Yeah, it's either him or Sami Zayn at WrestleMania next year.
Yeah, see, Sami Zayn's like the good story, like going into that for against Seth and all that. I just know people keep saying Braun's gonna have that Batista like turn, which I could see that. I could still also see Paul Heyman being involved, because Paul Heyman is somebody who always is kind of looking towards the future, and Braun Breaker is the future. So them kind of putting one over on Seth, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Like, if they don't, the only reason why he's mentioned the Sami Zayn thing is mainly because of the Saudi Rumble next year, and I just feel like he's probably the one that makes the most sense to win that thing. He's so loved there. Yeah. I just feel like they can't prolong that whole thing with Sami much longer.
They really can't, and I mean that's going to be a big moment for him winning a world.
Yeah.
And I think the World Heavyweight title is the perfect one for him, just because of how I personally view the WWE title.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's nothing against Sami. It's just the type of person he is. The World Heavyweight title, I think, is the best option for him.
Oh yeah.
And Vash, another interesting choice. He's going the Rock and Roll Express. I don't think they're signed with WWE, but I guess they need to kind of show their dominance still as a tag team.
I think they're aren't they involved with a different company too, if I'm not mistaken?
They might be.
Yeah,
they might be All Elite. I don't know, but again, another interesting choice from Vash. But hey, those are all of our predictions for Saturday night's main event. Again, we'll have our normal coverage for that show on Saturday when the show's over and all that. We'll talk about the matches, talk about the stories going forward. Maybe if Cody comes back, we'll talk about all that. So, that's our predictions. Now we're going to move on to all of our news coverage within the greater wrestling media. This is the segment that's used to highlight any indie promotions we may have gone to, news we want to discuss, interesting documentaries or interviews that we may have seen throughout the week, and anything else in the grand scale of professional wrestling. So, like I said earlier, we have had some big news coming out just in the past few hours. I don't know if anything's come up yet. But we're going to start first with our injury corner. So we have an update about Zoey Stark's injury. She actually started, she came out on social media, on her Twitter account and everything, to kind of give us a little bit of an update on how she's feeling and all that. But she states, because there has been a lot of going out to her, a lot of people, wishing her well. They should. Injuries suck and all that, but Zoey Stark took to Twitter and said, "Wow, the love and support means more to me than you'll ever know. What hurts more than my knee is knowing I won't be able to perform for all of you for a while. I love what I do and I'm blessed to do this. As the saying goes, the comeback is greater than the setback. Love you guys. #StarkMarks." So first of all, love that she has a hashtag. I kind of like that, the Stark Marks thing. Good marketing on you, Zoey Stark. But the other thing is, this just sucks, man. Because we had talked about it on with her injury and all that, and how she was finally getting on TV, finally getting some sort of a push, or at least some sort of recognition again. So it just kind of sucks that not only the injury happened, but it sounds like she's going to be out for a while. I think I saw someone report. I wish I tweet or bookmarked it, saw it, but apparently she might be out the rest of the year. Because it is the same knee, the same leg that she had her ACL torn, and some other injuries happened on there. But yeah, like I said on Monday, hopefully speedy, safe recovery from her, and I'm just glad she seems to be in high spirits, and just seeing the outpour of support for her has been really good. But drop any word on your thoughts with Zoey Stark here.
I honestly wish her the best, because that was a pretty nasty landing she had when she was trying to deliver that missile drop kick on Kairi Sane. And also, people online, don't blame Kairi Sane for that, because I've seen a couple people saying, oh, she wasn't positioned properly, she just came back, she didn't even know what she's doing, she has ring rust. I'm like, it's not her fault, because I was watching at it, at different angles, and it just happens sometimes in wrestling where it's like you're trying to hit a certain landing and then things don't go your way. So it's just a part of the whole sport. I mean, we've seen it happen with numerous people, and I just don't like the whole finger pointing thing, trying to blame it on other people, because
Yeah.
that's just very sad, and it's unfortunate that we live in a society like that. But I definitely wish her the best, because I did see videos of her getting carried by one of the doctors there to the back room.
Mm-hmm.
So I would assume she probably got like an ACL injury or something along the lines of that, because that looked like
Yeah.
pretty bad, because she tried to like walk on, and the doctor's like, you know what, gotta pick you up and bring you back, because I can only imagine like how I don't want to imagine this, but I remember in the ring when they were like zooming in on Rhea for a particular reason, because they obviously didn't want to have the camera on Zoey in that moment, and you could hear Zoey in pain, and a lot of people saying, "Oh, she's selling." No, that's literally her screaming in pain. Like me or you, if we got a serious like injury like that, like, not saying I want that to happen, knock on wood, but it's like we would be in pain too. Like, especially if you're like getting in shattering your knee or whatever the case is, that shit fucking hurts. So it's like you're obviously gonna be screaming in pain. So I'm hoping she's able to make it out okay. And I'm not like a doctor or anything, but I don't expect to see her anytime for the rest of the year.
Yeah, no, I don't either. So again, hopefully get a full speedy recovery,
Yeah.
and looking forward to seeing you back and all that. Hopefully you do come back, because there have been
Yes.
some things coming out when people are injured and all. But sticking really quickly with Kevin Owens is supposed to be getting that neck surgery and all that, but he actually gave us a quick update on social media that he's still kind of waiting to get surgery. And so, quoting from his video he posted, "We don't have a surgery date yet. I have not had surgery yet, despite reports on the contrary. We're still going to try to figure out what the best way to go about it all, exactly what needs to be done. So, we're going to figure that out still. There was a lot of uncertainty, but hopefully, in the next few weeks, we get clarity and we do the surgery, and then we go. I don't know what's happening with my neck, so we'll figure it out." Kind of disheartening here, because I thought he had gotten the report that he did go in for surgery,
Yeah, that's
but
what I thought. I
I guess
remember
that was
seeing.
false.
Yeah, I remember seeing that too.
Yeah, I think we may have actually talked about it too.
Yes.
um, yeah, I guess it just kind of sucks. Maybe the report was just kind of misconstrued in a way, because it's like, oh, he's going into a specialist, and they thought, oh, he's going in for the surgery. No, he probably just specialist then to kind of figure things out. Kind of sucks he hasn't gotten it yet, but it seems like he's still. I mean, at least he's able to move his neck a little bit from what it looks like. I just hope, again, like we said with Zoey Stark, I hope he's able to get his surgery, and I hope he has a fast, speedy recovery, because I miss my Kevin.
Yeah, I do too. Like, I really thought he did get the surgery already, because, like you said, I remember us talking about it on here. But it's like, I do hope he can make it out okay. I'm hoping he can, pull a miracle and everything and come back and, do what he needs to do. Obviously, be careful and everything. And also, even if he wants to at this point, because you never really know what's running through his head, he might want to take some time to really rethink how he wants to structure his career moving forward. But it's like, I'm wishing him nothing for the best, and hopefully he can get that surgery done soon, because it's
Hopefully.
honestly shocking that it hasn't happened already.
Yeah, so I don't know what the details are with it, but again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an insurance guy, I'm not a specialist, I'm just some dude on the internet.
Yeah.
But you know what? We've danced around the subject enough. Let's get right into it. WrestleMania 42. So it was reported just this afternoon, like hours into like me commuting home and going to and all that. WrestleMania 42 is no longer place in New Orleans. And this had people, not only speculating, but like a different like news places were coming out with like different reports coming out saying, oh, it's possibly going to be overseas. It might be in London. It might be in Saudi. And from the looks of things, it's looking like we're going to be back in Las Vegas for WrestleMania. And I, I already, I don't like this just because it just feels so samey. And especially with like them trying to be more, what's a good word? What's a good phrase? Because here's the thing with like each WrestleMania, it's very distinct in its design and its overall look. I think the only other time, I guess, besides until recently, the only other time I can think of where they had similar aesthetic was WrestleMania's 36 into 37, because 36 was supposed to be like a pirate theme going on,
Hmm.
and they couldn't do that because COVID happened. And so they kind of
Hmm.
they carried on the pirate theme into 37, which had the big old pirate ship and all that stuff. So that was the only instance we had like a similar aesthetic to WrestleMania.
Hmm.
If we're in Las Vegas again, are we going to do the same setup? Are they going to do something
Oh,
different to make it a little more distinct? Because it's going to be the same arena, from what I understand.
yeah.
Um,
Ooh.
and I mean, there's the other thing too. There were so many people that were unsatisfied with WrestleMania 41. You're really gonna run it back in the same city,
Hmm.
like, and that's not even talking about the prices of the tickets, because they like priced people out of WrestleMania.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. But I don't know. Has anything else come out since we've like started the show, or because I mean the last I saw was like they were supposedly finalizing Vegas.
No, it's been the same thing. Same
Okay.
thing going on ever since we started talking about it. But it's like, yeah, like I'm really hoping this isn't true. Like I know a lot of people are saying that, oh yeah, that's the decision. They're gonna go back to Mania and everything. I just think it's really lazy. Like I just think it's like we're always exploring a new place every single year. Like why all of a sudden you want to go back to the same area? Like doesn't really
Yeah.
make any sense because it's like I don't know, like I don't expect them to like have the same setup because if that truly is the case, that is pretty fucking pathetic. And they're gonna
Mhm.
get called out on that bullshit, and they probably know that, I would assume. If they had the same
Yeah.
stage and the whole layout and everything, and then they just switch a couple songs so they're not the same songs. Like if that's the fucking case, holy shit, that they're gonna eat this fucking event alive. But
You don't want to hear Fiend again for another 8 hours?
oh god, no. But it's
Fiend. Oh no, we're gonna have to hear that Money in the Bank. Son of a bitch.
yeah.
Oh.
And poor Ricky Saints, yeah, he was probably looking forward to having WrestleMania in New Orleans, like,
Hmm.
considering he's from that area. But it's like
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm gonna wait until WWE says it to see exactly what's going on. Maybe it's out
Mhm.
there to see the reaction. But when I initially saw this, I'm like, okay, are they gonna do this? Like I know a lot of people are mentioning London. Are they gonna do a Wembley thing because they want to get a one up on AEW? Because that's a reoccurring thing that they tend to do. Which I get it. You
Yeah.
want to be competitive and everything, whatever. That's just how things are with them. But it's like that's what I thought initially. It's like, okay, maybe they finally have their eyes set on something because they got a lot of money thrown at them, and tickets weren't on sale. So it's not like people buy tickets to this event already. So they could easily say, you know what, we're gonna do this somewhere else and we're gonna see where it goes beyond that point. Because I think normally around the fall or something you start having the tickets go on sale for this. But
Yeah.
as of this current moment, with it no longer taking place in New Orleans and going to be back at Las Vegas again, that's just really sad. And regardless, I'm gonna watch it and everything, but I'm not gonna
Oh
say
yeah.
that I like the whole idea of going back there. It just seems really weird because they've never
Yeah.
done that as far as I know. They've never done that.
Yeah. I can't recall any time. If they did, it might have been like Madison Square Garden or something. But I mean that's also because it's MSG.
Yeah.
And 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 now that I'm thinking about it, if they did do that, it would have just been like for the first couple WrestleManias, because they really didn't travel too far for like big events like that. Hell, they barely had big events like we have now.
Hmm.
Um yeah, I think the other thing too to kind of poke at this as well, because we had The Rock like not too long ago announce that 42, or yeah, he basically announced that 42 was going to be at New Orleans.
Mm.
Like, he came out with that whole video beforehand, and it had, like, the WrestleMania logo with, like, the Saints logo or whatever behind it. It's like, "Oh, great. WrestleMania is gonna be in New Orleans. Awesome. Can't wait for that." And now it's gone. And it's like, "Oh, well, that sucks." And I saw one tweet about it. It was saying, like, trying to give reasons behind it, like, "Oh, uh, some of it's financial, some of it's like security based. Like I guess they couldn't get some things in line for it. I don't know. It just feels weird because like especially with WrestleMania, they tend to announce a year in advance where it's gonna be at. And you would think, that means everything's set in stone and all that. Like we're all good to go to like New Orleans, for example, for WrestleMania. But yeah, it's just so weird that they're backing out, like, almost feels like so late in the game, but, I mean, again, it's only been roughly a month since WrestleMania, which is crazy to think about as well. Um, I don't know, man. Yeah, again, it feels weird to be in Vegas again for Mania back to back. Oh my gosh. But what also feels weird too, going on to our next news segment, SmackDown. So apparently SmackDown is so some of the things coming out were that when SmackDown went to 3 hours, it was said, okay, they're gonna be 3 hours until like May or June time. So like beginning of the summertime. We're gonna have 3 hour SmackDown. So it's like, all right, well, we'll deal with that until then, and then we'll go back to 2 hours, the wonderful 2 hours that SmackDown can and should be. Um, Apparently internally in the USA Network offices, they still have SmackDown as 3 hours for like a good part of June, which kind of sucks because it's like, okay, are WWE trying to plan to have just 2 hour SmackDowns, or are USA gonna try to keep pushing for a 3 hour show? Um, I really don't know, to be honest. I'm I'm a big fan of the 2.5 hours that we get for Raw, and that's always been like my nice sweet spot for a weekly wrestling show is 2.5 hours, and so that's why I've been personally enjoying Raw a lot. Um, but yeah, this is interesting that USA Network still has them slotted for 3 hours. What do you think about this going into June and I guess our June coverage for these shows?
I'm honestly hoping because I did see something saying that like early June he might be going back to it. So I'm honestly hoping that's the case because Triple H seemed very vocal when it was brought up to him. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna be going back to that. Like he answered that right away because it kind of seemed to
Mhm.
him that he didn't even want to go all the way through with these 3 hours to begin with as well. And it could have easily just been one of those things where it's like we're gonna do a little try run, see how it goes, and obviously, just looking at it, it's not really working out as well as Raw's doing, where it's like a nice 2.5 hour spot, or however they want to end it, depending on whatever they're building to around the time. But it's like I'm honestly hoping, you know, hopefully before we reach SummerSlam, that we're back to the usual format with both shows because it really seems like they're trying to like throw shit at a wall and expecting it to stick with a lot of these SmackDown shows when it comes to trying to really push something and see where it goes. Because if you look at how things were back then, like the old NXT thing, yeah, it was an hour, but not everybody was there on the show. So it's like
Yeah.
you chose what you wanted to build up that week, and then whatever happened next week, you can dive into that with other things that were happening behind the scenes, or possibly just have a little backstage segment to just add a little story if you're trying to build up a feud or whatever the case may be with that little vignette package, whatever it is, because it works well on Raw the way that they do it. So it's like they could easily do that thing, but I'm honestly hoping that they figure it out soon because, staying up until 11 o'clock sometimes. especially if you have something to do the next morning or whatever. I feel like it's a little too much.
Yeah. And I mean, granted, it is a Friday night and all that stuff, which is a lot better than the Monday nights when they used to be 3 hours. But yeah, that's the other thing. It's 3 hours, and a lot of the time, especially if you're watching on the VPN, you get the. I mean, they don't really have commercial breaks, but they have like the in between stuff, which don't get me wrong, is good. You know, nice little breakaway from it, but like that's kind of like 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes of that if you add it all up. So, I mean, already there's your 2.5 hours, but I
Hmm.
mean, you're not really seeing most of that either, especially if you don't have a VPN watching on Netflix. Um, yeah, we'll have to see what happens, I guess, going down again. Just less than 3 hours for a weekly show, please. Please. It's so much more easier to consume. Um, but speaking of consuming things such as media and all that, these next two media segments are quite interesting as well. So the first thing we have is Cathy Kelley landing her first movie role. So she actually posted some uh, photos of her on her social with her just like like in front of this like green room, dressing room, and all that. Um, yeah, it seems like she's gotten her first role finally, so that's awesome here. I haven't seen anything of what is that's being kept secret. But yeah, cool to see that she's doing something more with her chances that she has with WWE. Um, any speculations what movie she might be in?
I really don't know. Hopefully, it's something that helps benefit her. I mean, that's always a good thing. We'll wait and see where that goes.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean we know that she's been taking promo classes at the so maybe that was to kind of help her with this. Who knows? Maybe it'll be an action flick that involves wrestling. Maybe she'll just get away from wrestling entirely and like a rom com or
Does end up
anything can
happening
happen.
eventually down the line.
Yeah. Or it could be a video game movie. Like maybe she's in the new Street Fighter movie. Because I mean there's female fighters in Street Fighter, right? She could be one of them. I'm not a Street Fighter person, but the reason I bring up Street Fighter is because it was revealed by Deadline that there were a few names being thrown to play the role of Akuma in Street Fighter, in the new Street Fighter movie. And one of those, well, two of those names, I'm going to say two of them. One of them was Jason Momoa. It's like, okay, actor, cool, neat, awesome. But the wrestling equivalent of Jason Momoa, Roman Reigns' name, been thrown into the hat to play Akuma. Now, again, I'm not too familiar with Street Fighter, so I just kind of look at it as aesthetics. Aesthetically, I could see Roman playing a role like, but I did see some blowback from this, being like, oh, well, it doesn't really fit the character of a. So, Drop, do you have any Street Fighter knowledge or experience to really kind of put any weight behind those words?
Outside of what I've known from like the games I played briefly, and obviously with Ryu and Ken being in Super Smash Bros. And getting to know them in that game, I don't really know that much about them. But I do know that Akuma is like one of the main villains in the franchise. I do know that. So I could sort of understand where people are coming from when it comes to somebody like properly portraying that sort of character. It's almost like us with Doctor Doom. We know who the character
Mm,
is, we know how sadistic he can be, we know how intelligent he is when it comes to how he roadmaps everything to align with the sort of ideology that he has, which is why Robert Downey Jr. fits the role, because he could really bring that character to life. And plus, just having him look like Tony's just gonna mind fuck a lot of people to begin with. So that's also where a lot of the fun comes from, especially if he comes in contact with Tom again in Secret Wars whenever he gets the black suit in there. So that should be pretty fun. But it's like I can understand where people are coming from when you really know somebody.
mhm.
So, I mean, that if he is indeed getting that role, I mean, that's a pretty big role if you're going to be one of the main focal points in that film. If you're like the main villain, so
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, if he gets the role, cool, great. I mean,
yeah,
I've always been a proponent of, okay,
Hmm.
whoever's best for the role, play it. So, I
yeah,
mean, if they think he's best for it, all right, fine, I'll go watch it.
yeah.
Cool, neat.
See how it goes.
But yeah, but
For
again,
all we
like
know, Roman might be a big Street Fighter fan, so he might know the
might be.
character very well. We don't know.
Yeah, it might be very similar to freaking the tribal chief character that he already plays and all that.
He does have the
Um
little chain necklace too. Akuma.
mhm. I did see a tweet about that because like somebody had said, "Oh yeah, they both wear Ulafala," and the one guy was like, "Oh no, those are Buddhist chains," and then another another person underneath that tweet was like, "But Akuma's Muslim, so that doesn't make sense." And I'm like, "Oh, look at all these people that know their Street Fighter lore. Isn't that great?" I don't know a lick about Street Fighter other than what Ryu Ken? Yeah, I think so. I think those two. Anyways, before I continue to, take away my video game nerd card and all that, here's some NXT stuff that came up just recently this week. So, oh, of course, no worries there. So apparently there are no plans to hold an NXT PLE during the SummerSlam weekend, which is interesting in its own right because normally during the Big Four weekends, there's there's an NXT show and all. Um, but as soon as I bring this up, yeah, so this was revealed to us during Wrestle Backstage Pass Q&A, and so they were asked about an NXT PLE during SummerSlam, and they stated no, NXT will not be doing anything tied into SummerSlam weekend as of now. They do have their own event that will be taking place at the end of August, and we're looking to nail down the date and location of that ASAP. And especially for the bigger events on the calendar, WWE usually runs SmackDown, NXT, PLE, and Raw from the same city. And notice how it didn't say NXT after Raw. We'll touch on that here in just a second. But yeah, so like as of now, there's no NXT PLE for that weekend, for SummerSlam weekend. I'm kind of glad there's not, and mainly for the people that go to and are like going to all the, because we know how it is with like stand and deliver WrestleMania. We've heard there have been horror stories of people trying to get from one show to the other. And I mean, it sounds like this past year they did all right with the scheduling there. And at least with people going to both events. But that's probably why they don't have an NXT PLE for SummerSlam, because that's the other thing too. SummerSlam is now 2 nights this year. So maybe it's just a thing where it's like, okay, well, can't really house anything at NXT or for NXT this weekend in the city that SummerSlam's gonna be in. So yeah, it could be that. It could be just the fact of we got another event going on at the end of the month. We want to build towards that. They could always do like a special NXT, maybe like that Tuesday or something. If they're so inclined to do that, but we'll get into the next report to kind of talk about the whole NXTs after all these events. Yeah, it's really interesting that they're going this route. But, again, speaking about those NXTs after these shows, we actually had an NXT show pulled from Tampa this week. So usually with these bigger shows or like some of these bigger event shows or weekends and all that, WWE like to kind of do a little stint in, and Tampa was going to be no different with like Saturday event. They've got SmackDown showing up there. They've got Raw there, and they're going to have Battleground in the area too. But we had this report come out um, from this actually came from like people noticing this on Wrestle. but I'm gonna read the article from Cultaholic who wrote this. WWE made a change to their plans for the post Battleground edition of WWE NXT, which is scheduled to air on Tuesday, May 27th, this coming Tuesday. The show was originally set to emanate from the Yingling Center in Tampa, Florida, part of a 4-show stay at the venue for WWE. Includes Saturday night's main event, NXT Battleground, and Monday Night Raw. So there's our 3 shows right there. The NXT taping has been canceled, though. No official reason was given for cancellation, but WrestleTix noted that around 1,700 tickets had been distributed for the NXT taping that was going to be happening at the Yingling Center. And, the Yingling Center is set up for capacity of just below 10,000. Saturday night's main event and selling out, while over 6,000 tickets have been distributed for Battleground. So they're they're not like super close to the limit when it comes to Battleground, but that's a good number to have for, I guess, this event or this venue, I guess. Well, it's a little over half, but it's still pretty good. But following the cancellation, NXT commentator Vic Joseph announced on Tuesday's episode of NXT that next week's post Battleground show will be taped from the Performance Center in Orlando. NXT TV is taped at the Performance Center when the brand is on the road. So a lot of people are speculating with it that they pulled NXT here because it just wasn't selling enough tickets for their weekly show, and it's man, that's not a lot of tickets for that kind of setup. I don't know what WWE were thinking. Like, and don't get me wrong, NXT is fun to watch. It is a good time. I don't know why they would try to run NXT in another venue like this. And this just kind of gets to how like people were feeling just during WrestleMania when NXT was still in Vegas, because they actually had like the NXT after WrestleMania in like the same venue as like I believe Raw and SmackDown were. But that's like 4 or 5 days of straight wrestling in that city. The same people going to these events, going to SmackDown, going to both nights of WrestleMania, going to Raw. Like there are people that are either doing that or doing something equivalent, because usually WrestleMania weekend is like a big old plethora, big old like I don't want to say carnival, but it's like a big old festival of wrestling in that city. So there's a lot of indie promotion shows there. If people couldn't go to both nights of WrestleMania or went to only one or down, if they only went to these shows, they were going to other indie promotions as well, or at least being in the city, being in Vegas, mind you, to do all that. So a lot of these out of towners going to these shows, like, yeah, they're tired. They're tired after like a few days of wrestling. Hell, I get tired too when we're just sitting here watching it online with you guys. But yeah, so people get tired of things and they need time to just relax and chill and just recharge a little bit. So that's probably why the NXT shows have not been the best after these big events, or at least the experiment's just not working. And seeing these ticket sales for that venue, yeah, I can kind of see why they might have pulled. And I'm sure Drop will mention more too when he brings up NXT later on, as when we do our turnbuckle tidbits and all that. But yeah, very interesting stuff coming out. Uh, Again, I'm not the business type person, so I don't really know how the business aspect of all that works. I'm just the consumer, and I just see patterns and notice certain things. That's just me and all that. But we're gonna continue on. We got a couple other news stories here. Darby Allin has successfully climbed Mount Everest. So that's why he hasn't been on AEW TV. He's been spending $65,000 because that's how much it apparently costs to climb Mount Everest. That's not counting plane ride and all that stuff. but I digress. Uh, yeah, so he has successfully climbed the mountain. So currently, right now, he is coming down from the highest peak. Of course, he did plant an AEW flag on top of the mountain. So, you know what? Good on you, dude. Good supporting your line of work. But he had posted this on his Instagram with the following uh, message with it: Mount Everest Summit. What a ride. Thanks, AEW, for everything in life. Thanks to the amazing team at Adventure Consultants and the Sherpa squad, that this shit was wild. So yeah, he'll be coming back soon. He left. So Alan set off from Kathmandu on April 10th and began the long trek to Everest on April 11th. Mount Everest is the highest mountain on Earth. You know, huge, huge, huge place. So yeah, he's been up there over, and yeah, he's finally coming back down. Apparently, like the trip down takes a lot quicker. Like I saw something like 3 or 4 days. Like apparently, it's very easy to get down from Mount Everest. Who knew? I didn't know. Cool. Um, but yeah, don't expect him at Double or Nothing. I mean, if Miraculous did show up at Double or Nothing this Sunday, it would be a surprise. People will be shocked, but he would also be hella jet lagged and hella tired. That man would be running off of adrenaline just to even walk in the building after climbing Mount Everest and coming down. And to get a good old sip of water there. But great accomplishment from Darby Allin. Happy that you're safe from that, because that is not only just a trek, it is something that has taken many lives. So good to know that you made it out relatively safe on the other side. And then the last piece of information I'm bringing up is something that was kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of funny. So AEW Collision had some issues this past weekend, where 90 minutes into their broadcast, 30 minutes left, they had 2 matches for the night, went off the air. Yeah, it got taken off the air, and in its place was Black Adam. So The Rock just continues. It's not John Cena who's wrestling, it's The Rock. So yeah, his movie started playing, and people were just like, "Oh, well, Collision's done, huh?" We didn't get to see any of it, and we found out the reason why from this is from what's his, Rich Gullickson, who is the Warner Brothers Discovery Associate Director of Live Events. So he's the one that is in charge of all of these live events that keep going on. What? Yeah, he went to Blue Sky and he's just like, just heard about this. Very sorry this happened. It actually was a severe technical problem with show delivery and recording. The team is working to get this put back together for Max Replay and TNT VOD ASAP. What? He's sorry to hear about this. He's sorry it happened. A severe technical problem? Like, I don't recall like TV stations like making such a huge problem like this, or making such a huge error like this, especially for a live event. Like somebody must have just kind of bumped a button be- to kick Collision off like that. Um Drop, what do you think of this like fun little story about Collision getting knocked off for The Rock?
Yeah, I don't really buy into that, because if you're a professional
Yeah.
wrestling company, things like this wouldn't happen. Like, you would have everything under control. You would know when to start your show, when to end your show. So that doesn't really make any sense, because you wouldn't catch WWE doing anything like this. And AEW is like the second biggest promotion in the world,
Yeah.
right behind WWE. So that doesn't really make any sense the way that he laid that out like that.
Yeah, no, and especially like his first sentence. Just heard about this. You heard about it, and you're posting to Blue Sky about it. Like that's the other kicker too. Like you're posting on Blue Sky, which barely anybody goes on it.
Yeah.
They realize there's actually entertainment right now. Yeah, the fact you posted there, and it was a severe no, this was not a technical problem. Some idiot pressed the button and didn't know back. That's what happened, and the fact that there is that lack of professionalism by first y'all and you didn't want to responsibility for it. Oh well, whatever. But I did mention the NXT stuff. I didn't know if you had on like them having to pull their show from Tampa and the fact that we don't have an NXT PLE during SummerSlam weekend. Or did you have any thoughts? You're more of the NXT guy around these. So anything that came to mind with those new stories?
So it is surprising that we're not getting a PLE because we normally have like Heat Wave or something around that time. So it is surprising. So I'm assuming we're going to be getting some sort of like TV special surrounding that time period whenever some SummerSlam goes on. So that might be something that they factor in. And I heard when it comes to the show being pulled from Tampa, because of where they weren't selling as much tickets because of the sort of venue that place was. So that's why they have to have the show at the Performance Center now because of how things felt flat with that when it came to where they were around that time to really have that show sell in with this whole package that they have going on with Saturday Night's Main Event, Saturday Night's Main Event, the NXT show, the Battleground, Raw, and then Tuesday for NXT. So
yeah, and even seeing like at least when the report came out, they had sold like 6,000 tickets out of 10,000 seating venue. I mean,
yeah,
that's fine number. You would think it would do a little better. Which I mean, it'll probably bump today because they'll realize, all right, we need to let's lower some prices just a tiny bit. No, not much. We don't want everyone. That's just them being greedy company. But okay, all right. Well, that basically ends the media portion. Let's get into those wonderful, fun turnbuckle tidbits. This is the part of the show where we talk about NXT and AEW, the good, the bad, and the mediocre at best. When it comes to Dynamite, half of the show was really good. Like the first half of the show was fun as hell. And I'm like, you know what? I feel a certain feeling coming with it. I even had a tweet even before Dynamite. I was like, there's something in the air. Something feels good about AEW right now. I'm actually excited to watch Dynamite. I'm actually looking forward. I mean, I still am looking forward to Double, but I don't know. There was something in my soul maybe yesterday when I was thinking about AEW. I'm like, all right, you know what? We're in for some magic. And you know what? Dynamite started off very, very good. We had this face to face with Ospreay and Hangman because they're in the finals of the O. We find out that the finals, so Will Ospreay and Hangman Adam Page will be the main event of Double or Nothing. So we're not ending with the Anarchy, ending with the tournament final, which after the promo segment they had here, yes, all of the yes. Like you had Ospreay just getting very real with them and like talking about how like he comes to America every Tuesday and he's like jet lagged, like he just running on adrenaline, but he's in every single day. He leaves it all on the line for us, the fans, and for himself and all that. And then Hangman, just like his story of redemption right now, like he needs this. Like, he needs to know that all the things he did just need to be left in the past and all. And this led to a very, very good segment between two people. Like, and say what you want about the Death Rider story and all that, because yeah, it's kind of been crap. But damn, if Osprey and Hank didn't give a shit about Death Rider, to be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, save the company from these people, take that title away, you know. And I really like how they're also staying away from the Death Rider. It's like they're mentioning them, and it's like, you know, yeah, you fighting the Death Rider. I get that if you're that passionate about it, but the way I kind of rationalize this, it's like the key to the kingdom around here is the AEW. We need to fight for that, and Osprey even said it in his promo. He's just like, I tried to do things. I tried to go through like right connections, the correct path, and all that. You know, that whole babyface thing and everything. And I think that's like the core of that is like, okay, we're gonna do it. Yeah, we could just go over them, go into the back, just throw a face, especially, you know, one of the keep throwing trash cans at them. Please throw like 50 of them in their faces. So it's just the fact like, okay, we're gonna fight to get the opportunity to take that title, take the keys back from this devil that's, which again, I say that it's mainly just in AEW's kayfabe that's, but like the fact that Will Ospreay and Hangman and me more on Death Rider's part of this, it's like okay, interesting that two people that really aren't directly involved in the story are making that story a little better. Yeah, funny how that works when like two people who are actually kind of good at their job are just good at their job. You know, able to put people over and put stories over, and I don't know, whatever. Just the segment was really good. Like it kind of pumped me up a little bit. These two are gonna put on. I feel like they're gonna put on a classic Sunday, and I mean, a lot of people already thought they were going to anyways. This made me just more excited for this. I don't know. Were you able to catch this? Because
No.
if you didn't, this is like the one thing on Dynamite I would highly recommend.
Yeah, like I saw clips of it and I saw a lot of praise from a lot of people, so I'll probably go back and look at that. That's the one thing I did notice out of the show that people are mainly talking about.
Yeah, that's like the biggest thing. And plus like the fact that this is main event Double over Anarchy and the that's kind of big too, you know? But I appreciate that too, because I'm also a sucker for tournament. But see, like, this is it. This is what I was talking about with how a tournament can be when you can have like different stories going on that are like, yeah, they're individual stories, but like that's kind of the point. This is like the characterization of characters. Um, but yeah, I'm excited for this match. And after that was actually followed by a 6-man tag between Young Bucks and John Moxley and the Oz. Mainly because they're trying to build up for Sunday's big ol' Anarchy in the Arena. And you know what? The match itself here was really fun. I really personally liked it. It just showcase a little bit of things, kind of give you guys a little bit of taste of what's to come. I'm still not a fan of working with John Moxley, but that's just par for the course when it comes for the Death Riders and Moxley as a champion.
Hey, a quick question: is the buy-in the pre-show?
Yes.
Okay, because they just announced a match for the pre-show with Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford versus Anna Jay and Harley Cameron.
What are we doing?
Yep.
Damn. What are we doing? Like, you know what? I'm just gonna refer to JD's tweet about that. Because I saw his tweet. I'm like, okay, you know what? Yeah. I'll talk about that when I get to. Spoiler alert for that for that little comment. Um, yeah, this match with the Ops and Swerve, they did go over the Young Bucks and Moxley, but of course, big old brawl match needs a big old brawl at the end of it. We get a big old brawl with Kenny Omega, everybody, and Samoa Joe's not done yet. Oh, he's out for blood tonight. Wants to finish the job tonight, and I love how he just kind of, in a way, breaks the fourth wall. He's just like, you know what? Usually, we just say, "Yeah, we'll see you on Sunday," but no, I'm here for blood, and it was crazy. They were also cussing,
Wow.
like dropping like F sounded like, because like they had to like legit censor some shit, because it was like Osprey, I think he was saying like motherfucker and all that stuff, so they highly bleeped that out. And I think Joe was like saying like man, but yeah, which they do end up having another night, so after the main event that we had, that questionable to be a main event, but again, we'll get to that. Yeah, they have a brawl because Samoa Joe just comes out of nowhere. Like, I want to imagine him and Powerhouse were just standing there for the rest of Dynamite. So like the whole like hour and 30 minutes that Dynamite went on. Like, they were just standing behind those curtains with those trash cans. Like, all right, once you hear a buck, you go hunting. Like, I hope they were just like standing there the whole. That would have been. But yeah, we get another big brawl with the heels, standing up top and all that. Yeah, we'll see who wins on Sunday. Uh, need a Snickers? Oh yeah. Oh man. But after that, we had MJF joining the Hurt Syndicate with this big old contract signing, which you would think would go somewhere, but they didn't really go too far with anything regarding the contract. It's just everybody had to sign the contract. Cool, neat. Bobby Lashley still teases a little bit with it. He signs it regardless. And then after all that was done, Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes come out because they're challenging for the Hurt Syndicate's titles on Sunday, which they're not gonna. You guys are just fodder to the Hurt. This is the part of the show where it's like, okay, things are slowing down a little bit. Like, this segment started off fine, but then it went nowhere, and then Dustin came out with a big old rush of being like, bet on the one, the original ones, day one, and all that. Okay, cool. I feel your promo. I feel the emotion behind it. It didn't really do it. I was just kind of saying, okay, you're saying the words, you're saying the buzzwords, cool, neat, awesome. Uh, time, somebody play the music. Somebody play the music to get him out. Yeah, it's just, they're fodder. You guys are fodder for the Hurt. Ricochet defeated Anthony Bowens.
That push is going pretty well from him, huh?
Yeah,
Anthony
it's going
Bowens,
great.
that new repackaging and everything.
Yeah, great. Why did we bring up the Acclaimed? I don't. Yeah, no, this. I mean, match quality, top tier. Because again, AEW usually that. This is really just to kind of make Ricochet look strong going into the stretcher match with Mark Briscoe. Which, why is it a stretcher match? Like, I was fine last week because, yeah, I think it was last week I came on. Oh, great, they're having a match. Cool, awesome. Thought it was just gonna be a regular singles match. Now it's a stretcher match. It's like, did this really call for that drastic of a match? Like, or are you just trying to do it just to say, oh, this is the first stretcher match in AEW? Because they pulled that line, and I'm like, oh, is that why? Yeah. I don't have much else to say on that, so I'm just gonna move on to a Mercedes and Jamie Hayter face to face because they're in the finals of the Women's Owen Hart Cup. Not much to say here either. I mean, if you've heard one of these sit down segments with the ladies, basically heard them all. I guess the one takeaway from this though is the fact that Jamie Hayter, and I actually love how she did this, how she said this. Um, she looked over to Mercedes, just like, you know what, you look a little lighter over there, huh? Didn't you used to have 4 belts? And it kind of set Mercedes off a little bit. So I don't know if we're finally gonna do like the downfall of Mercedes, like bring down her character in a way, but that would also involve her like dropping 2 other non AEW titles. So we'll have to wait and see with that, I guess. But I mean, yeah, not much to say from this either, except for that caveat right there. And then immediately after Jamie Hayter hit the Haterade on, I almost called her Sasha Banks, on Mercedes, like immediately after she did that, out comes Timeless Tony Storm, who's going to be on commentary for this Mina Shirakawa Julia Hart main event, which again, that's your main event match. Like, again, match quality, fine. Did this need to be a main event? Did this at all?
No.
You know, like
You could have
it
had
did
the
not.
thing in the beginning of the show.
Yeah, exactly. You could have done this, and then like you could
Especially
have
since it
ended
is
with
main
the 6-man
eventing
tag.
Double or Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, cool, neat. Um, Mina should win, which she did, and then afterwards she hurt Tony's knee, to kind of give us some sort of thing to cling on to for this. I don't know. It only happened because Mina won a freaking eliminator, one of our favorite match types. Um, yeah, I don't have much to say there. Kind of sucks for Julia Hart. I feel like she's losing a lot. I think the other thing too is the fact that Sky Blue came out after started
Yeah.
beating up Mina Shirakawa. So it seems like we're teaming her and Julia Hart again up. So that's good. We're keeping that continuity at least. So happy about that. Um, take a quick swig there. Because now I'm just going to move on to my Double or Nothing predictions. I'm not going to say why or except for a couple things. Mainly because like there's some matches here I'm not really too fussed about. So speaking of which, Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia taking on FTR. This build has mainly been on Collision. Cool, neat, awesome. I could see FTR winning this just because they just turned heel. So yeah, keep their momentum going. Continental title between Kazuchika Okada and Mike Bailey was announced. I had mentioned that was probably going to be a thing last week, and my thoughts about that still haven't changed. Okada's going to win to move forward to Kenny Omega. The structure match with Mark Briscoe and Ricochet. Honestly, you could give Ricochet the win. I think he needs the win a little for like that win-loss and all that.
Yeah.
And Mark Briscoe can eat a loss. Like he'll be fine. He's still fun regardless. When it comes to the Owen Hart Cup Women's Final, I'm torn because the Hart wants Jamie Hayter, and the Hart wants her to continue or reignite that feud she was gonna have with Toni Storm last year. They still have unfinished business when it comes to the women's title. However, the head and the money talks, it's probably going to be Mercedes winning this, going into All In against Toni Storm. I feel like that's more of the money match,
Yeah.
compared to the story match, which sucks to say, but I mean, what can you do? They are put on Mercedes money and Timeless Toni Storm at All In. Like they'll have a great match. AEW World Tag Titles, they're not going anywhere. Hurt Syndicate's gonna hold. It's the same thing with the AEW Women's title. Toni Storm's not dropping to Jericho. it's gonna be a banger of a match, but she ain't losing. The Anarchy in the Arena match, Death Riders and the Young Bucks, minus Gabe Kidd. I don't know if you saw the graphic for that. He wasn't even advertised for that.
I don't understand why he came out last week.
Yeah, I don't understand why he's involved at all. Like, the only thing I could see, and because people were bringing this up, and maybe it could lead to freaking Eddie Kingston coming back.
Oh yeah, that could be a thing.
But yeah, I mean, we haven't really heard much from Eddie Kingston in once. He didn't really seem too worried about getting back too quick. So, but it could be him. Like, he could show up during the match. Gabe Kidd's probably going to somehow. And, I mean, someone's going to have to help the faces come back a little bit. Which, speak on that, I could see the face team winning. Just because I'm pretty sure Blood and Guts is also coming around the corner. And they usually like to be in the arena to kind of push towards that. So, I mean, this is one that could go. It could still be the heels going over and the faces challenging to a Blood and Guts. But, you know what? It's probably going to be the heels that are going to keep some sort of momentum going. Something's going to happen where the face team just like gets cheated out of it in a no DQ match, but whatever. There's going to be some chicanery afoot, some shenanigans, if you will. And for the main event, the Owen Hart Cup men's final, I am torn on because it's like, okay, you kind of need to pull the trigger on in AEW. The story with Hangman Page is really good, but I think there's room for it to grow even further beyond. So that's why I think Will Ospreay is going to take it. I think he's going to win. I think it would be kind of silly to not pull the trigger on Will Ospreay, especially with him taking the title from Moxley. I know Darby Allin seems to be like the nail in the coffin for the Death Riders. Because even that freaking Tony Khan on the Double or Nothing media call saying that he was proud of Darby and he's excited for when Darby comes back because there's been a dark cloud over AEW. Dark cloud are the Death Riders.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, cool. So we know the end goal now is Darby Allin. But is it Darby Allin taking the title or him just taking John Moxley out? And preferably it should be for the title, but I don't know. Since Will Ospreay is in that position, just pull the trigger on him. You know, you've got the hottest act in wrestling. Pull the trigger on him. Have him hold, whether it's for a long time, short time, have him. But yeah, that goes with all the AEW talk. I'm gonna zip my lip down, pass it on over to Drop to let us know how NXT was this week going into Battle.
Yeah, so we had NXT this past Tuesday, so I'll talk about Tuesday's show and then I'll dive into my predictions for the Battleground card that we have. So we had a triple threat match between Shawn Legacy, which is a superstar from the Evolve show that WWE has when it comes to the WID talents. He is an indie talent, but he participates in that show. They have a lot of them on there. But he wanted to have a match with Javon Evans and everything. And you had Ashanti Adonis get into a little segment with Javon Evans last week, you know, just talking crap about indie guys and everything. And that's pretty much how things came to be when it came to this match being a thing. And Shawn Legacy ended up winning the match because he ended up pinning Adonis, because it really makes sense to pin Javon. Got to keep him safe for a little bit when it comes to taking some pins if you want to build a little bit more momentum. But this happened because there was a distraction there. Ethan Page ended up jumping Ricky Saints at ringside, and Evans ended up, you know, diving on top of them And now Sean Legacy has a North American title shot now, which is pretty cool for him. But I'm going to get back to that later because something happened a little bit later in the show that's very questionable. Unless things change next week, but I definitely do have some things to say about that. We have a match between Shawn Spears and Josh Briggs. Nothing too crazy here. He ended up pinning him clean to build a little momentum under Shawn Spears' belt. We had OTM take out Chase Hughes. They don't remember. They're not really like super important. They're pretty much just, I don't know. To me, they're like side characters. Like they don't stand out as much as like the other characters that were a part of Chase U. So you have like Yura Connors and Cale Dixon. They ended up taking him out, and Andre Chase was there, and he looked pretty bummed when it comes to everything that's currently going on because Chase U formed back up again, and things are slowly getting there when it comes to what they want to do. But Andre Chase kind of seems, just really out of place in that moment there. Lola Vice ended up getting a win over Fallon Henley. He ended up pinning her in the match to secure that victory. And JC Jane was watching ringside, and obviously something's up between the both of them because for the past couple weeks, even outside of this match, Fallon Henley and her have just been button heads for one another when it comes to the sort of comments that they're making. So it definitely feels like there's going to be a breakup between these ladies soon because that seems to be a reoccurring theme with the next thing I'm going to be talking about, where you had Kalani Jordan pin Zarya after Soruka took a spear by mistake. And now Kalani Jordan is facing Soruka for the women's North American title at Battleground, which I'll dive into my predictions for that in just a little bit. So that was a very interesting thing that I could potentially see where that's going to be going, which I'll share soon. We had this thing advertised last week to happen this week when it comes to Trick Williams and Joe Hendry, where you had Trick Williams going out there pretty much having a little diss track, because that's usually his thing when it comes to a couple people that he comes in contact with when he's having feuds, and he was dissing Joe Hendry, calling him an average Joe. He formed the song there, and he also had a music video to go along with it. And then Henry ended up doing a concert there, pretty much calling him Mello's bitch and everything. And I know Carmelo Hayes even acknowledged it online, and he ended up hitting Trick Williams. He ended up smashing the guitar across his face to close out the show, and he dropped him with a standing ovation, which is his finisher. And it definitely looks like their TNA title match at Battleground is going to be pretty good. So I am looking forward to that. Obafemi and Miles Bourne, they were sharing a few words with one another because that's going to be the NXT men's championship match at Battleground, because Miles Bourne won a battle royal a couple weeks ago, and this is pretty much him coming out of his shell and showing people what he's capable of, because he's been up front with people and told them that he's death, and he just wants to set a good example for a lot of people that can relate to him doing something a little bit different, which I can acknowledge that. Yeah. And that's some really good stuff between the both of them. So really looking forward to seeing how this match is going to take off. We had Jasper Troy from LFD show up after everything that transpired, which he was the winner of season 1 of LFG. So he's pretty much, coming here, attacking Obafemi, pretty much, setting his ground when it comes to I'm the next big thing here and I want to make an impact. And what other way to make an impact by taking out the main champion of the show? So it's good that they're establishing him here. I will talk about him in a little bit as well, because we do have some news surrounding him and the other competitor that won the match a little bit later into the show. But that's some good stuff here, because that's the sort of thing that you really need to do if you really want people to take you seriously. You go after the biggest guy that's running the show, and that's obviously Obafemi. Plus, that's a good thing that they're going to build him to fit him in that main card on NXT, because they're lacking in that department, especially whenever this supposed draft is coming up. You definitely need a couple of names to really fill those shoes when it comes to whoever's going up. But there was a segment backstage where we saw Ethan Page and Ricky Saints fighting one another, and Ava ended up breaking up the fight itself. And this is where I mentioned the whole thing about Sean Legacy, because earlier in the show, we had a match to determine who the number one contender of the title is going to be. Shawn Legacy won the match, but then you had that little shenanigans play out with Ethan Page attacking Ricky Saints. And it was weird because Ava ended up booking a match between Ricky Saints and Ethan Page for the North American Championship next week with no mention of Shawn Legacy there. So I kind of find that weird how you have Shawn Legacy earning a number one contenders match for the title. He won it fair and square, and then all of a sudden Ethan Page comes out of nowhere, and then he gets that match booked before he gets his. To me, that kind of seems a little counterproductive because the guy won the match when these shenanigans was going on. So if anything, if you are going to make this match, which I'm hoping we have that slotted in next week when that match occurs, you might as well just make it a triple threat. I don't see the whole point of having Ricky Saints go up against Ethan Page, beating him, and then going after Shawn Legacy afterwards. That just doesn't really make any sense at all. So I would hope.
And I thought that they had moved on from me.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah,
because I thought they were.
Because I saw that come up on like Twitter and all that. Wait, didn't? I thought they just stopped.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I thought where it was originally going to head before Shawn Legacy won the thing. I don't mind him winning because he's a great wrestler. So I'm looking forward to the match between him and Ricky Saints. But I thought originally it was going to be him and Javon Evans having a match because it seems like that was Javon's next step moving forward when it comes to whatever he was doing. But now you have Ethan Page again going after Ricky Saints, and they've already had, a couple of matches with each other already. So and it seemed like that died down for quite a bit. There's no acknowledgement of it. Ricky Saints was focusing on other things, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you have him coming back. So that's what really caught me off guard. I personally wouldn't have done this. I mean, to me, it honestly seems like there's going to be a draft around the corner. Ethan Page is going to be part of that draft because I don't really see what else he can do on NXT.
Yeah, like he's kind of starting to outgrow it a little bit. Like he's getting to that point where it's like, okay, when can we move you up? Or let's move you up. Come on SmackDown or Raw or something. Like, come on, let's build something more with you because Ethan Page is really good, but he's getting to that moment.
So the next thing we had was segment with the LFG winners, which we saw Jasper Troy make his debut on NXT television by attacking the main champion, and we had Ava signing the LFG winners because they won NXT contracts for the LFG season 1, and season 2 I believe is actually starting next month. I think like the middle of June. So you're gonna have a couple of new faces there, a couple returning players when it comes to people that didn't win, because I do recall them saying that the Xena Sterling and Shiloh Hill is going to have a second crack at participating in the second season of LFG, even though it's kind of obvious they're all signed, but they're just doing this just for fun or whatever. But that's besides the point. But we have Ava. They signed Jasper Troy and Tyra May Steele. So, you got a guy that you could work in the men's division, and then you got a girl that you can work in the females division, depending on how they structure her and everything. And they both are heels from the last time I saw them. Like Jasper Troy, you look at the guy, he looks nothing else but a heel. He just has that look where he honestly has to be a heel throughout the rest of his career. I can't really see him being a babyface. He just has that look. And then
he just got that look about him.
And then Tyra May Steele, I mean, that would be good if you end up drafting some girls to, Raw or SmackDown, whatever, and you want to start building something around her, or at least put her in a spot to fill in those gaps. So that's always a good thing. We ended up having a Jordan Grace vignette air, just pretty much hyping up the match between her and Stephanie Becker at Battleground, hyping up her feud with Stephanie Becker and Julia when they had their inner issues with one another and everything, and also just looking at who Jordan Grace is and everything, just in case people have to be reminded of who she is again. So I'm looking forward to their match. Dark State still acting like they're running things, which I'm happy about that because they haven't taken a loss yet, because you obviously want these guys to really matter. You don't want them taking losses and then just talking shit and then having another match, losing, talking shit. Like, if you want them to be legitimate, you need to book them to look strong, and so far they are. They ended up taking down Joe Hendry a couple weeks ago, along with the tag champs Hank and Tank. So I'm glad that they still have that going. Very curious to see where that leads to. If I had to make a bold prediction in the future, I would assume some members out of Dark State, maybe they go after the tag team titles if they want to go after some gold. Maybe that's something they do. And then we have Stephanie Vecker having an interview with Kelly. Can't pronounce her name. I think it's Kincaid or something along the lines of that. I don't remember, but she's pretty much the spokesperson and the backstage, like we have on Raw and SmackDown when it comes to the interviews and everything. So I do apologize if I butchered your name, but she was pretty much just talking about her journey as women's champion, and it was pretty inspiring the way that she was talking when it comes to the kind of person that she wants to be, and just really who Stephanie Vecker is. And they definitely booked her very well ever since she's joined WWE. So I am very glad when it comes to her overall presentation. So it makes me really happy to see her in the position that she's in, and I definitely have high hopes for her in the near future. So now I'm actually going to move on to my predictions for Battleground when it comes to the matches that we're going to have there. We have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We only have a total of 6 matches here for this event. So it's a little bit different from Saturday night's main event, which they have 4, I believe.
Yeah, there's 4.
Which isn't bad because, you got commercials in between or whatever, so it makes sense. So we got Obafemi versus Miles Bourne. I feel like, if anything, this is going to be Miles' chance to show who he is, but I don't expect him to win this match, so I'm going to say Obafemi for this one. And Stephanie Vecker versus Jordan Grace. This is 50-50 depending on the sort of direction they want to go down. But I was thinking Jordan Grace at first, but I'm going to switch it to Stephanie Vecker, because if they were going to move Stephanie to the main roster, then I say she loses the title here. But since they recently added Roxanne Perez to Raw, and then they ended up adding Julia to SmackDown, I don't know if they're going to give everything away that soon, because ever since that match she had on Raw with Ivy Nile, she hasn't really shown up since. So I feel like you don't want to give away, too many goodies that soon, especially, you already got 2 big girls that you took from NXT already getting over to the main roster of Roxanne and Julia. So I don't know if you want to do it that soon when it comes to, okay, Jordan wins the title here, and then Stephanie's on Raw or SmackDown the next following week. I feel like if they were to do anything like that, maybe that's something that happens closer to the draft or whenever that happens, but that all depends on what they want to do. Maybe that was just them testing the waters of her, which obviously was successful when it came to her being there. But I'm going to say this match will come close, but I'm going to say Stephanie Vecker here. And it very well could be Jordan Grace. Either way, I'm not going to be I'm not going to be upset if Stephanie doesn't win, because I feel like both of these girls deserve it. Stephanie deserves to retain her titles. Jordan Grace deserves to have a run with the belt, which I expect her to have a run with this belt before she goes up to the main roster anyway.
Yeah, because that's my thing. It's just like, she's been, obviously she's made a couple appearances for WWE the past few years, but like, she's been on this NXT run for a bit, and she is a top talent. It's just like, okay, she should probably have that run with the title, and out of the talent that's there currently to really take it off of Stephanie, Jordan Grace might be the best option for that. Just have her go on her short little run, and whether Stephanie gets the title back or, like you said, gets drafted, if we have this magical draft, we at least get these good title reigns from these women. And if they don't take Stephanie, they're gonna take Jordan for the main roster. They're both at that point where they could thrive up there. And man, does that women's division kind of need it too. I mean, they got the shot with like Roxy and um Julia, so there's at least a shot in there. It's
Yeah.
good. Just, it can be better, you know.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's just like it's really 50-50 here. It can go either way. I feel like out of all of these matches, this is the one that I'm torn on. Not saying that I'm upset when it comes to who's gonna win, but it's like whoever wins, it just makes sense. Like this is the one match where it's like whoever win it makes sense. It's almost like the Adam Page and Will Ospreay match. It's you look at both of them, either one of them could win, and nobody would have an issue with it. That's how I basically look at this. And
the
Smart Podcast, I do see your comments on the chat. I want to acknowledge it. Thank you for subscribing to the show. I do talk about NXT whenever we do Grappling with the Week, so I appreciate hearing your insight on that. Jonathan Adonis is good in the ring, or worst gimmick ever. I do agree with that. If he just dropped the gimmick and everything, he'd be perfectly fine. And yeah, I did. And the Culling did cheat. And I'll tell you a funny story about that. When I was watching that match, I was like half awake, so I couldn't really tell what was going on. I just had a rough day, and I'm not really too into the Culling as much outside of a few things. But yeah,
I can't get behind the name. Like
no,
the Culling. I don't know. It's just I can't get behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree. She is too good for NXT, but you know, it all depends what they want to do. Like, she gets drafted the main roster, she does. If she doesn't, you know, whatever. But that does make sense if it were to happen, and I could probably see her on Raw. If I'm being honest, they're gonna be very greedy with her. So
yeah, she looks like a Raw star.
Yep. So the next thing we have is Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams, and this is going to be for the TNA Championship. And this one I can actually see heading down an interesting direction, because a friend of mine at work, Billy, he watches TNA a lot, and he told me that they've been teasing something with him and Mike Santana when it came to like the little interactions they've been having backstage. So he was telling me that he thinks they're doing that for a reason, because obviously they do things for a reason. I mean, look at what we see in WWE when they have those little backstage segments of people talking, and then eventually comes into picture 2 to 3 weeks from now. But he said that they were teasing, like they were like giving each other a look or something. So maybe that was done by design. But it seems like Trick Williams could have a shot at winning the TNA championship, which would actually be pretty interesting if they went down that direction. Because if I'm just looking at this straight up, I would say Joe Hendry, because I wouldn't think they would have an NXT guy take the TNA championship. But you never know. They might want to have a little shocking thing happen here, and that could potentially happen. And it would be pretty interesting to see how that would go when it comes to Trick Williams staying on TNA for a little bit with the partnership they're having, going up against a couple people there. Maybe there's a thing that happens where Mike Santana ends up winning the TNA title, because I know that's a fan favorite that a lot of people expect to win the TNA championship in the near future. So maybe Trick doesn't have a super long run of it. Maybe he drops it to Mike Santana or whatever. But this could very well be the standing ovation for Joe Hendry here. Like, pun intended, when it comes to his finisher, when it comes to his reign potentially ending at Battleground. So that could potentially happen.
And plus you get a really cool, interesting dynamic where it's Trick Williams, especially the character he is right now, holding the TNA title and then going on to Impact. Like going almost in a way very like John Cena 2006 One Night Stand, where he was walking into enemy territory and all that. Like, you get a good dynamic with that. And that's really tantalizing just to see.
Yeah, it would be interesting. It's like, this is the first time a TNA championship is going to be defended on WWE programming, because they did the same thing before when Joe Hendry had a shot at the NXT Championship when Ethan Page held it, if I'm not mistaken.
I
So
believe so.
So it's like, if they want to make a history moment here, I mean, they could have Trick walk out with the title or something, have him have a little run with it, like I said, do something fun. So be pretty interested to see how that goes down. The next match is Tony D versus Stax. I'm just going to keep it simple here. I feel like if you really want to establish this Stax character moving forward, I'm going to say that Stax is going to come out on top and he's going to beat Tony D. Because Stax is pretty much trying to break out on his own, to become his own character outside of the family after, you know, just dealing with Tony D for so long. He just couldn't take it. That's why he ended up stabbing him in the back at NXT Stand and Deliver. So it's like, if you really want to start building up this new character with Stax, I would assume Tony D would lose this match. And I feel like this could easily give us another way of knowing who might be heading up to the main roster soon, because outside of this, I don't really know what Tony D is going to do. Like, the only thing he could really do is have another match with Stax. That's it. I don't see him factoring into a title match. He's not going after the tag titles with anybody. He's not going to go after the North American Championship, because that's already being busy with Ethan Page and Shawn Legacy now. And then you have the NXT Championship now, where you have the whole thing of Miles Bourne and Obafemi, and then after that, more than likely, you might end up having something go on with Jasper Troy and Obafemi, because Obafemi's obviously going to call out on that bullshit. So it's like he really doesn't have anything else going for him. So that's where I see here with Stax.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you if you saw Tony D going up to the main roster after this, because
I
he
can
could
see
be a fun character up there.
Yeah, I can see it, because it's like, outside of this, I don't really know like where else he goes. That's the thing, because if there was something else lined up or something else trying to target him and make his life a living hell, I can see it.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, it seems like Stax might be the last stop, because I was thinking about this, because I knew the turn was happening before it happened, because they were building to it. And it's kind of like, okay, once Stax turns on him, you really need to keep Stax, you know, looking strong when it comes to him being this new character, if you really want to show the next evolution of him. So if you have Tony D go up against him in this match, I don't know if that really benefits him in any way. Like, you want him to look intimidating. You saw him, quote unquote, off somebody on television when it comes to that whole meetup
multiple times
outside, and then you don't even know what's going on with Rizzo right now. So it's like,
because she's still in the safe house, isn't she?
Yeah. And I remember that one thing where it's like he was talking about it with him, and then he was trying to search for him. He ended up finding him. He ended up getting attacked. So it's like, I feel like Stax has to win this match. And then with Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordan, I feel like Sol Ruka is going to win this match. And I honestly feel like we might end up getting the heel turn on Zarya. I mean, Zarya is going to turn heel on Sol Ruka here, because they've been teasing it for quite some time now when it comes to just basically Zarya's like body language, when it comes to how she's been acting lately. And I just feel like that was the end goal to begin with when it comes to this pairing, because I never expected them to be friends for like the next 4 to 5 years or anything. Like, obviously this is going to be a way to structure a relationship with Sol Ruka, so it didn't come out of nowhere and you just threw them together just to start a feud. But it's like, you building on the foundations of their friendship, and then you're looking at how it cracked and it just broke apart. And this is something I can see being the next match that we have with whatever PLE or TV special that they have between the both of these girls. And I can see Zarya turning heel here. Like, Sol Ruka, she's going to put a good match. She's going to have a good match with Kalani Jordan, because they're both very good. But I feel like that might be something you see closing out that part of the show when it comes to this match with Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordan, just building on that heel turn, turning her heel and everything.
All right.
And then the last match is Hank and Tank versus the Culling. And I expect Hank and Tank to win this match, because, I mean, I don't know if you should be having your tag champions lose matches. I guess that's just the
No.
factor that we normally talk about on this show when it comes to protecting the champions and making them look strong. And I don't really know what the calling is going to benefit out of this outside of getting a tag title shot for these titles. That's the only
Yeah.
thing I can really see happening if they do end up pinning Hank and Tank. But I'm going to say that Hank and Tank come out on top in this. Unless they did like the Smart Podcast says, they ended up cheating like they did in the match that they had on Tuesday. But I don't know if you're going to run that same book twice. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
because I mean, reading the same book twice can get kind of boring.
yeah.
Can. Um. Okay. Well, I mean, so here's the interesting thing about all this, because like Saturday night's main event, that's on Saturday. Sunday is booked with both NXT and AEW, roughly starting at the same time.
Yeah.
I'd have to check times and all that, but obviously obviously Battleground is going to be shorter than AEW. How do you plan on watching? Like, do you plan on watching them at the same time, or like just do you even just plan on watching both? I know for me, I'm gonna try to have it where I have my not my laptop, my iPad with the AEW stream, and then like NXT playing on the TV for a time.
Yeah, I might end up doing
What?
that because I have my 3 monitors
Mhm.
here. So I might just have one of the shows on this monitor, the other show on the other, and I'll just
Yep.
watch them back and forth to see what happens. Because you're going to be
Yeah.
having things break in between both shows when it comes to
Hmm.
certain matches or who's returning, who's turning on who. Because a
Yeah.
lot of stuff is coming out of both of those shows. Like, I definitely feel like when it comes to both of those companies, they're definitely going to be doing one of those things where it's like, okay, we know that our show's on the same time as their show, so we're gonna want to pull a couple things out that we don't normally do just to, I
Hmm.
guess, make some sort of impression or whatever, or just to
Yeah.
have that bragging rights.
Yep. Name of a PLE. Oh my gosh. Um. Yeah. Okay. Well, that does it for our turnbuckle tidbits. And you know what? You know what, Drop? I think that does that for our show tonight. What do you think? I think we
Yeah,
had some good conversations and a lot of predictions going into this
yeah,
weekend.
we had like 3 different predictions spread out throughout this show. Pretty
Yeah,
crazy. Probably going to be a
I
recurring
know.
theme in I think around Double. I mean, All In too, because they have
Oh
another
yeah.
Saturday night's main event, and then that rumored uh Evolution 2 is supposed to be happening on
Oh
that
yeah.
Sunday of All In, so it's going to be another show like that or around July.
Oh great. Oh great. Oh great. Yeah, WWE get on that with Evolution 2. Give us that thing. Did you see there was one thing that came out. I forgot who said it. It might have been Natalia. Um I, th- I, yeah, I think it was her. She had made a comment that WWE could run an all women show, like a weekly all women show,
They
which they
could,
really
yeah.
could. Like the talent they have under their under contract with them,
Hmm.
they would run a banger of 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 an all women show. Like that would be great to see. So if you guys do that, awesome. But yeah, please announce Evolution 2.
Yeah.
I would greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't even know what's going on with that. Like, that's just funniest
Yeah.
thing ever.
Yeah, just rumors after rumors and all that. But we're not here for rumors. We're here for straight facts. And the fact is, we've reached the end of our show. We've been going for about 2 hours now, so around our normal runtime here.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take some time to thank you for listening to Grappling with the Week. Before we head out, as always, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. You can find the links right below us. We got our we got our hashtag known as Weebs of the Ring. That's a good way to kind of keep our conversation going, talk to us anything about pro wrestling or all the other stuff that we love, like comics, video games, all that stuff. But it's also a good way to kind of give us feedback, so that way we know, hey, why don't you guys talk about this more? Or do a little bit of that, do a little bit of this. We'll listen to you. We'll take it into consideration and stay tuned for any changes that might come. We only know that if you guys, we would love to hear from you guys when it comes Weebs of the Ring is presented by Anime Weebs Studio. Thanks again to our production team, all of your hard work. Thank you for joining us, and a special shout out to Stu. I know times are hard with John Cena turning heel on you, but hey, we love you and appreciate you for everything you do. Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good morning. Have a good rest of your evening or afternoon. We will see you tomorrow night for Smack Diggity Down.
All right, we'll see you guys. Have a good night. More Money in the Bank qualifiers tomorrow, so see where that goes.